All right, we're going to solve multi-step equations. So our goal is still to get the variable on one side of the equal sign all by itself. And in this case, we have variables on both sides. So we're going to start by moving them to the same side of the equal sign. Okay, you still do the opposite operation to both sides to keep our equation balanced. Remember, the equal sign means that the two sides are equal, and if I only do something to one side and not the other, then it won't stay balanced. Okay, so on this one, I have a 6x and a 4x. So I want to move them to the same side of the equal sign. Okay, so I'm going to do the opposite operation. I'm going to move this 4x over to so it can be with the 6x, so I can combine them. Okay, so it's positive 4x, opposite would be minus 4x to both sides. And I'm going to write that minus 4x right below the x terms. I'm not going to write it below my 3 or 17 because those aren't like terms. I can't combine them. Right, I have 4x minus 4x is 0. So that's what my goal was in that step, was to get rid of the x on this side. 6x minus 4x leaves me with 2x. I'm going to bring down the plus 3 is equal to, over here I have a positive 17. Okay, so now I still want my x all by itself. It's being multiplied by 2 and 3 is being added on. That plus 3 is all by itself, so that's what I'm going to get rid of first. Opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3, and anything I do to one side I must do to the other. So positive 3 minus 3 is 0. I'm left with 2x is equal to 17 minus 3 leaves me with 14. All right, I have a 2 times my x. Remember, anytime a number is right next to a variable without an operation between, it means multiplication. 2 times x, opposite of multiplying x by 2 is dividing x by 2. Anything I do to one side, I must do to the other. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I'm left with my 1x, or just x, is equal to 14 divided by 2 is 7. Okay, and I can plug the 7 back in for my variable and make sure that the two sides are equal, make sure that that is the solution. All right, over here. Again, I want my variables together on the same side. I have a negative 6x and a positive 3x. Okay, I'm going to move this x term over so it can be with my other x term. To move negative 3x, the opposite would be plus 3x. But anything I do just one side, I must do to the other. Remember, write it below your x terms. So negative 3x plus 3x is 0. Over here, negative 6x plus 3x is negative 3x. Bring down the plus 7 is equal to, don't forget that minus has to stay in front of the 11. So now it becomes negative 11. All right, again, I still want x by itself. X is being multiplied by negative 3, but there's also a plus 7. That plus 7 is by itself, so I can get rid of that first. Opposite of plus 7 is minus 7. 7 minus 7 is 0. So I'm going to bring down my negative 3x equals negative 11 minus 7, negative 18. All right, x is being multiplied by negative 3. Opposite is to divide by negative 3. Remember, you don't just want to divide by 3, you want to divide by negative 3, because x cannot stay negative. It needs to be all by itself. It needs to be positive. So negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1. So I'm left with my 1x, or x, equals, but anything I did to one side, I must do to the other. So my negative 18 divided by negative 3 leaves me with positive 6. All right. Okay, so here's some problems. I want you to go ahead and try these out for yourself. Come back when you're ready to go through the answers. Double check yourself. All right, first one. I'm going to move my variables to the same side. So to move the negative x, I'm going to add x. Remember, that's the same thing as adding 1x. negative x plus x is 0. I'm going to bring down this negative 18. 4x plus x, or 1x, gives me 5x equals 2. I'm going to add 18 to both sides. Negative 18 plus 18 is 0. Bring down that 5x equals 2 plus 18 is 20. To get x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So x is equal to 20 divided by 5 is 4. All right, next one. Again, move your variables to the same side. I like to move my variables to the left. It just makes it easier. It truly wouldn't matter which side you move them to, as long as you move them to the same side. So I'm going to get rid of this minus 5x by adding 5x to both sides. Negative 5x plus 5x is 0. Negative 3x plus 5x is 2x. Bring down the minus 8 equals 12. All right, that minus 8 is all by itself, so that's what I'm going to get rid of next. Opposite is adding 8, and anything I do to one side, I must do the other. Negative 8 plus 8 is 0, so bring down your 2x equals 12 plus 8 is 20. All right, we have 2 times x. Opposite of multiplying x by 2 is dividing by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we're left with x equals 20 divided by 2 is 10. All right. Okay, on this one, remember x is the same thing as 1x. If you want to put a 1 there, go ahead. I'm going to move my negative 2x over by adding 2x, opposite operation, plus 2x. Negative 2x plus 2x is 0. 1x plus 2x is 3x, minus 9 equals 9. So now I'm going to move my minus 9 over by adding 9 to both sides. Negative 9 plus 9 is 0, so I'm left with 3x equals 18. Going to divide by 3 on both sides. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so x is equal to 6. All right. Over here, last one on this side, we are going to move, or I'm going to move my 12x over as positive, so I'm going to subtract 12x from both sides. 12x minus 12x is 0. We're going to bring down this negative 4. When I'm combining, I have to remember that this 2x has a minus in front of it, so I have to treat it as negative 2x minus 12x is negative 14x equals negative 32. Okay, I want to get rid of this negative 4 by adding 4 to both sides. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Now I have to leave that negative in front of the 14x. Remember, originally in the problem it was minus, but when I bring it down, it's going to be negative 14x equals negative 28. Okay, I want x by itself. It's being multiplied by negative 14, so opposite is to divide by negative 14. Negative 14 divided by negative 14 is 1, so I'm left with x equals positive 2. Negative 28 divided by negative 14 is positive 2. All right, so we're going to try a few more problems that are just a little more complicated. Okay, we have to do multiple steps before we can start moving stuff from side to side. Okay, I can see on the left, I have a 2 being multiplied by 3x plus 5. So I'm going to distribute that 2, multiply it by everything inside before I start moving stuff. Okay, so 2 times 3x is 6x, plus 2 times 5 is 10, equals, I can bring down this side, negative 2x minus 6. Okay, now that I've simplified both sides, I can just start moving my x terms to the same side and everything else to the other side. So I have a 6x and a negative 2x. I want to move my x's to the same side. Because it's a negative 2x, opposite would be to add 2x to both sides. Negative 2x plus 2x is 0. 6x plus 2x is 8x. Bring down the plus 10 equals, remember that minus is now negative 6. Don't forget it. Okay, we're going to subtract 10 from both sides because that plus 10 is by itself and I need to move it. 10 minus 10 is 0. Bring down the 8x equals negative 6 minus 10 is negative 16. X is being multiplied by 8. I want it by itself, so opposite of multiplying by 8 is dividing by 8. Anything I do to one side, I must do to the other. 8 divided by 8 is 1, so I'm left with my 1x equals negative 16 divided by 8 is negative 2. All right. Now on this side, I have a negative outside the parenthesis. I have to distribute that. Anytime you have something outside the parenthesis, it has to be distributed. I'm going to treat it as negative 1. So I'm going to multiply everything inside by negative 1. Because multiplying just by negative can be kind of confusing, but if I multiply by negative 1, most people can understand what that means. And they won't be confused when they do the multiplication. So negative 1 times x is negative 1x plus negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Bring down that minus 4x equals negative 6x minus 5. All right, I'm not done combining like terms. I have terms that I can combine on this side. Remember, if they're on the same side of the equal sign, just combine them. We're not doing opposite operations. That's only when you're moving them from side to side, from one side of the equal sign to the other. So I'm going to look at like terms. I have a negative 1x minus 4x. Leaves me with negative 5x plus negative 3x, plus negative 3 equals negative 6x minus 5. Now I'm going to move my x's to the same side. I have a negative 5x and negative 6x. I'm going to move the negative 6x by adding 6x to both sides. Negative 6x plus 6x is 0. Negative 5x plus 6x is 1x or just x. Bring down that plus negative 3 equals, don't forget that's a negative 5. Okay. Sometimes people get confused. It's plus negative 3, which technically is just minus 3. So to get rid of that negative or minus 3, we're going to add 3 to both sides. Okay, and if you're still confused, remember you want it to be 0. If I subtracted 3, negative 3 minus 3 would give me negative 6. But here I added 3, and negative 3 plus 3 is equal to 0. So you always can check yourself, does it truly equal 0? Bring down the x equals negative 5 plus 3 leaves me with negative 2. All right, so I'm going to give you 4 problems to go ahead and try. Go ahead and work through them and come back when you're ready for the answers. All right, so problem 5. I'm going to distribute the 5 outside the parentheses. 5 times negative 2x is negative 10x plus 5 times 4 is 20 equals negative 2x minus 4. I'm going to move my x terms to the same side. I have negative 2x. Opposite is adding 2x to both sides. Negative 2x plus 2x is 0. Negative 10x plus 2x is negative 8x plus 20 equals negative 4. I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. 20 minus 20 is 0. So I have negative 8x equals negative 24. Here I'm going to divide both sides by negative 8. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 is positive 1x or just x. Negative 24 divided by negative 8, positive 3. Okay. Over here, I have to distribute on both sides. I'm going to multiply everything on this side inside the parenthesis by negative 3. So negative 3 times negative 2x is positive 6x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3. Equals, over here I also have to distribute a 3. 3 times x is 3x, plus 3 times 6 is 18. Now I'm going to move the x's to the same side. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. 3x minus 3x is 0. 6x minus 3x is 3x. Bring down the plus 3 equals 18. All right, now I need to get rid of this plus 3 by subtracting 3 on both sides. 3 minus 3 is 0. So I have 3x equals 15. 18 minus 3 is 15. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So x is equal to 5. 15 divided by 3 is 5. Number 7. On this one, I need to multiply everything inside the parentheses not just by 2, but by negative 2. You have to include the operation or sign that's in front of it. So here I'm going to bring down the 2 in front. Now I have negative 2 times x is negative 2x. I can bring down the plus, or I can say negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6. You could say plus negative 6 or just minus 6. Equals 3x plus 6. I'm going to combine like terms. I have a 2 minus 6 leaves me with negative 4. Bring down that minus 2x equals 3x plus 6. Now I'm going to move my x's to the same side. Here I'm going to move them over to the left. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. 3x minus 3x is 0. Over here, I'm going to bring down that negative 4. Remember, there's a negative 2x minus 3x is negative 5x. Don't forget you have to include the operation or sign in front of the term. We're left with 6. All right, I want to get rid of this negative 4 by adding 4 to both sides. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. So bring down that negative. Don't forget that negative. The minus becomes negative. Negative 5x equals 10. I want to get rid of the negative 5x that's being multiplied by x. So opposite of multiplying by x is dividing, opposite of multiplying x by negative 5 is dividing by negative 5. But anything I do to one side, I must do to the other. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is positive 1x equals 10 divided by negative 5 is negative 2. Last one. Here I'm going to start by distributing that 6, multiplying it by everything inside. 6 times negative x is negative 6x, plus 6 times 2 is 12. Bring down that minus 4, equals, oh, here we have another negative out in front. I'm going to put a 1 there, so I'm going to distribute it and multiply everything inside by negative 1. Negative 1 times 5x, negative 5x. Negative 1 times negative 3, I'm including that minus, as negative 3 gives me positive 3. Now combine like terms. I have a 12 minus 4. So bring down the negative 6x. 12 minus 4 leaves me with plus 8 equals negative 5x plus 3. Move your x's to the same side. I'm going to add 5x to get rid of this negative 5x. Do the same thing to both sides. Negative 5x plus 5x is 0. Negative 6x plus 5x is negative 1x plus 8 equals 3. You're going to get rid of that plus 8 by subtracting 8 on both sides. 8 minus 8 is 0. So I have negative 1x equals negative 5. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. All right, x can't be negative, so I have to get rid of it. X is being multiplied by negative 1. Opposite is to divide by negative 1. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1. So we're left with x equals negative 5 divided by negative 1 is positive 5. All right, so that was solving multi-step equations.